DebX, amplifying voices, accelerating change. Please help me welcome to the DebX stage, Michelle Barnett.
When I was little, I loved Michael Jackson. So one year, my grandma gives me a pair of Michael Jackson sneakers for Christmas. Now, I don't know if you remember these. Spike-covered, puffy high tops with buckles on them. Needless to say, I never wore these. Even back then, they weren't my style, and just not what I wanted. I'm sure you can relate. I think most of us have received a gift that we didn't want. The funny thing about these shoes is that today they'd be worth around $250. That's the thing about gifts. Sometimes we just don't understand their value. It's kind of like that with arguments. What if I told you that the arguments we have with the people that we love are also a gift? And that the gift is worth much more than you might think. Now you might be thinking, I don't know how your arguments go, but that's not how they go for me. And you're not alone. I asked a handful of friends about what it's like for them when they're arguing with someone they love, and gift never came up. They said, I feel totally distracted. It wears me out. It's the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning, and the last thing I think of before I go to bed. I heard these things plenty, but no one said, oh, it's such a gift. And yet, here I am, about to tell you about the huge gift that an argument with my mom turned out to be. Now, it didn't start out feeling like a gift. An argument with my mom about politics and religion. Who wants that? No, initially, I was pretty upset. And I was really distracted for almost 2 weeks. I was actively trying to resolve this. I hated this feeling. So I started journaling and talking to a few close friends, just trying to figure out what was it that had me so upset? I mean, what was it at the core that had me so angry? Through this time of reflecting, I started to see an old resentment that I thought I'd gotten over. That really surprised me. And when I started paying attention to what I was saying about her in this argument, I could see some really strong opinions that I had about how I thought she should be. And even more interesting, I saw how in my anger, my first reaction was to just cut her out of my life. I mean, I wasn't going to, but it was an incredibly strong urge. Right there. It reminded me of this angry teenage stubbornness that I hadn't seen in myself in a while. And ultimately, when I looked at my opinions and how I thought she should be just a little closer, I even saw what a hypocrite I was being in my judgment of her. Now, all of this came as a surprise since initially it seemed really obvious to me that my mom needed to change. But after a closer look, it seemed like even if she didn't, there was plenty that could change over here. And while this may sound like bad news, this is where the gift started to emerge. I mean, clearly this argument pushed a button for me. You know what I mean by buttons, right? Those topics that can set you off the second they get brought up. Picture it. There you are, having a nice dinner, and someone brings up climate change. Next thing you know, you're clenching your jaw, and your heart's racing, and your brain's engaging that fight or flight mechanism, and logic goes right out the window. We all have our buttons, right? Well, one of the reasons that I see arguments as a gift is that they shine a spotlight on our buttons. They give us a chance to see what makes us lose our cool and an up-close view of how we act when our buttons get pushed. And if we take it on, we can even start to resolve the cause of that sensitive spot, or at least recognize the warning signs and avoid making things worse the next time that button gets pushed. Yes, for sure, seeing what got me so upset was useful. And if I looked beyond my relationship with my mom for other examples, I could see other places where my strong opinions about people had started to become more important to me than the people themselves. Was this impacting other relationships and I just hadn't realized it yet? Was this the example that I wanted to set for my niece and nephews? Did I want them growing up and watching me be like this with the people that I loved? In this way, I was being with my mom in this argument. This wasn't at all the way that I'd want people to describe me either. Hi, meet my friend Michelle. She's a bitter, stubborn, intolerant hypocrite. But she's a lot of fun to be around. No, I started to feel grateful that this had happened and that I had a chance to do something about it before this impacted more relationships. In fact, about a month after the argument with my mom, I got a text from a friend that hit a very similar button in me. I still got upset. But instead of it taking weeks to resolve, it was over in under 2 hours. I was able to quickly get past my opinions about their opinions and see what my friend was really trying to do. They simply wanted to contribute to me. I'm so grateful for the giant gift that I got from this argument with my mom. So if arguments or disagreements are going to happen, and I assert that if we're being real and intimate with each other, it's going to happen occasionally. So if it's going to happen, how can we be sure to always get the gift in an argument? Well, I think it comes down to 3 key things from what I can tell so far. First, I think the most important thing is to train ourselves to remember that there is a gift here for me. There's a line in the Bible that says that all things are working together for my good, and I truly believe that. In all things, even arguments. So the first key to having each argument be a gift is to remember to look for the gift. And the second key to always finding the gift in an argument is to remember that the gift is for you. We may want for the other person to change, but in order to ensure that you always get the gift in an argument, you're going to want to look at what this argument reveals about you. Take some time to look at what really bothers you in the argument and for where this reveals an opportunity for you to grow. Maybe it's to grow in being tolerant and able to accept people as they are, like it was for me. Or maybe it's something else. But there's always a place to grow when you look for it. And the third thing I've discovered is to be patient. This is a gift that keeps on giving. My relationship with my mom hasn't changed overnight, and I haven't changed overnight. And yeah, over the last 10 years, my relationship with my mom has grown quite a bit. But the real gift, as I see it, is the woman I'm becoming. Now, I still have plenty of room to grow, and it would not be a huge challenge at all to get me into an argument. But with each disagreement, I get to look for ways that I can grow into becoming the more loving woman that I want to be, someone who truly loves and enjoys and celebrates the people around me. So I sincerely hope that the next time you find yourself in a disagreement, you'll find a time to stop and look for the gift. Thank you.